All right. Let's see what we got here. We got New Year's Eve. Um, Interesting little slate on this one. I think there's 5 viable teams. 4 you could stack the pass game in, but I think this is gonna get quite interesting here. Where do we want to go right out the gate? Obviously, the marquee games of the day: Music City Bowl with Tennessee, Illinois, and the Alamo Bowl with USC, TCU. Both of those a little bit more of a chance to shoot out. Trying to figure out who you're gonna need out of those, who's sitting out. That's always going to be important to pay attention to in this spot. But we do have some key opt outs in each of these games. Will we see some soft opt outs, right? That could be completely possible. You could see some guys come out, play a little bit early, and then kind of sit out of this one. So, bunch of interestingness in this one. Did not do live video yesterday for App State, Georgia Southern. Actually ended up finishing 14th in the showdown slate. But I mean, there was just way too many questions because, like, was OJ Arnold going to play? Was Dalen Cobb going to play? Who the hell was starting at quarterback for App State? Like, I just wasn't going to know any of that coming up. There was rumors of Swan or Cole playing for App State. There was rumors that Arnold was going to play, wasn't going to play. It was just all over the place. So I really didn't technically build until 10 minutes before lock when I knew OJ Arnold was in. Hence why we had no show yesterday. So I'm going to hit FanDuel. I actually did build one team on there. Who knows how it'll end up, but I'll show what we have there and why we're playing it. But rules are kind of going to apply to both of these teams in both sites today because it's pretty open for the most part slate in this spot. So starting out with this Louisiana Tech Coastal Carolina game, full transparency, Coastal Carolina just does not exist for me on this slate. I'm full of void. I like Louisiana Tech to just absolutely run the ball down their gullet, and they don't throw the ball at all. So it's going to be, I mean, this Coastal offense, it's projected to score 21 points. It's not good. It's all over the place. It's any which way, all over. Who the heck knows what's going to end up happening here? They're going to have Drew Hollingshed calling plays, disciple under Mike Leach. But at the same time, this is going to be, you got Tad Hudson at quarterback and Woo Doggy, and they just rotate wide receivers left, right, and center. I think they end up throwing the ball a little bit more, but you can't trust any of those guys, in my opinion. I'm just going to try to stay away from them. And then I think Louisiana Tech just ends up controlling the clock and running it at a massive clip, given that they're one of the top teams in rush play percentage on the season. And Coastal absolutely stinks at stopping the run, ranking around 100th overall against the run. So I would expect, given that Kukuk, the quarterback, he's only attempted 43 passes in the last 2 games. I think you just see them run the ball at will in this one. Now, the question is who's going to take advantage of that? So I'm not playing any Louisiana Tech wide receiver. I'm not playing any of the Coastal players at all. The only options to me are Kukuk, who has absolutely torched on the ground the last 2 games, gone absolute scorched earth. He has some of the he has the most red zone carries over that span. So do we trust that he ends up being the guy who goes scorched earth? Because I think he's an option. He's in play. He's got a massive ceiling. He's also got a really low floor if he can't run the ball, or if it just doesn't break his way. So from a floor standpoint, there's a lot better options later in the day. From a ceiling standpoint, can these guys compete with 100 yards rushing and multiple scores? I don't think so. Bird Emanuel, this is the Bird Emanuel special right here. So I had a nut feeling that Bird Emanuel was going to end up getting some weirdness and running for some crazy number because he tends to do that. Just like I had a nut feeling that Chris Hilton was going to come out of nowhere. Chris Hilton went full Undertaker gif right there and just sat up in the bowl game as usual. Almost had a touchdown too. Should have had a touchdown. But that's the breaks. So I think Kukuk is in play for sure. It's just a question of if that's where we want to go or not. And then you've got two running backs with Amari Wiggins now out, or Amiri Wiggins. Clay Thievenen has to be in play. He's not a dynamic runner of the football on the ground. Yes, he does have some decent games with multiple scores, but he's kind of been pipped. He doesn't get much red zone work. What's interesting with him is the pass game usage. He's kind of turned into a default number one wide receiver in a sense. So I have interest in Thievenen from the pass catching standpoint, giving him a high floor. But I think he gets a similar amount of touches to Andrew Burnett. Now, Andrew Burnett's been on an absolute tear on his own right the last 2 weeks on the ground. I would expect him to be the primary ball carrier outside of Kukuk. So one, or at least, I think you can play Kukuk and Burnett. I think you can play Kukuk and Thievenen. I don't think I would play Burnett and Thievenen together. I think they all end up with 15-ish rushes or touches that turn into carries. So like Thievenen is going to get there on 10 carries and 4 or 5 catches. Burnett's going to get there on carry volume, and Kukuk is going to get there on carry volume in essence. In this one, the question is who's going to get it? That's the $1 million answer that you got to figure out, because one of these guys is going to blow up. So which one blows up, or which two? It could very well be Kukuk gets 150 yards rushing, Burnett gets 150 yards rushing, and then they get 5 total touchdowns between them. Burnett had a slight edge in red zone rushing attempts over the last couple of weeks with 6-4, while Kukuk had 12. So he had more than both of them combined. Man, that is such a decision to make. I think that is a decision you're going to have at minimum one of these La Tech runners in your pocket. It's going to have to be one of Kukuk, Thievenen, or Burnett, guaranteed. So we're going to make that decision here in a bit. I do love the late slate, but we're going to have to make that decision because one of those guys is going in. On the Tennessee side, so things get interesting here. I think Aguilar is in play. I would call it 4 quarterbacks in play in this one. Aguilar's in play. Illinois hasn't been amazing against the pass. They're actually much worse against the pass than against the run. Against the run, they've been decent, but the top pass rusher for Illinois is out for this one, Gabe Jackas. And the safety, Matthew Bailey. That's not going to help their defense. I think Aguilar's fine. I don't particularly love Aguilar in this spot. No Chris Brazzell for them. And then you've got a combination of Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas. I do really like Deshaun Bishop in this spot. So I am going to end up locking him in for me. I do really think he's going to find a good bit of success with no Jackas. He's had a monster floor so far. He can catch passes, but I think the volume and the red zone equity is so high with Bishop that it's hard to ignore. I think both these games have shootout potential. This one being the most that I think can go back and forth in this spot. Star Thomas is a fine pivot if you wanted to pivot from Bishop to Thomas, or you can play it through Aguilar and the wide receivers. Now, Kitzelman is supposed to be back. How does that affect the tight end room? Ethan Davis has come on pretty strong the last 2 weeks. I think you could buy into that and say, hey, I think Kitzelman sits. If we get word Kitzelman sits, I think Davis is an interesting play. It's really been outside wide receivers. Like every wide receiver gets a boost without Brazel, right? Because Brazel would be the highest valued wide receiver in this spot. Illinois has been torched by opposing wide receivers, specifically on the boundary this year with the outside guys. So I'm going to choose to not play Braylon Staley because he plays more in the slot. Do I think he could pop? Yes, 100%. He can have a 20-point game. But the value and the matchup dictates to go to either Mike Matthews, who plays on the outside and is an explosive wide receiver, or you punt. This is going to be your guy taking Chris Brazel's spot, Rodarius Jackson. Reports on him are that he has a massive catch radius, and anything thrown anywhere in the realm of him is catchable. So he is an interesting punt option on both sites. You get him at 3K on DK. I believe he's 5,200 on FanDuel. So both extremely interesting. I probably will end up with a Tennessee wide receiver to pair with Bishop, but I'm in debate. I definitely want Bishop though. I know that. I think this is a very good game to target for sure. This one has the most back and forth potential for me because of the guy starting for TCU gives me some nerves here. Quarterback wise on the Illinois side, Luke Altmaier, I'm perfectly happy playing him. I might end up going there. Sneaky mobility. I've always kind of said he has sneaky mobility. And I do think that he has the potential to throw for 300 plus in this spot. And he has good options at wide receiver that are pretty clear. This Tennessee secondary has been definitely the worst of the units on the defensive side, and they've lost a lot of guys due to opt-outs and injury. So it's going to make them a little bit worse. They've been torched. I mean, absolutely torched towards the end of the season. Pavia lit them up. A number of pieces have lit them up. And they're one of the worst teams in allowing yardage through the air. They've been pretty good at limiting the touchdown passes, but I just have this feeling that Altmaier feels like a really good way to go because the running back position is such a committee with Khalil Valentine, Caden Fagan, and Aiden Lawfrey all mixed in. Tennessee not exactly great at defending the run either, but Fagan has the most likelihood to score a touchdown. He's more than double the amount of red zone carries to any other back in this spot on the season. And the man's a refrigerator with appendages. But I would say I just want to avoid the situation because I'd rather take shots at a number of other places, given that we have some good running backs on this slate and I don't need to force it there. But if I'm playing Altmaier, I definitely want at least one piece for him to bring along, maybe two. I'm kind of considering a double of Altmaier. I really think I like that script, so I can play an Altmaier double with Bishop and a outside wide receiver for Tennessee and see where that lands. That's probably something I'm going to test around here in a second. I haven't tested it. I was testing it on FanDuel when I was trying to come up with a team. But I am very interested in Altmaier. I know he has sneaky rushing upside. He can have 40, 50 yards on the ground, throw for 300 plus, and just put up a solid number. So wide receiver wise, Hank Beatty very clearly the number one. He finished the year a little bit slow, but you can see the catch volume. It's just through the roof. And we played him, Purdue was a great game for him. Duke, great game for him. He started out really hot, but slowed down. I think that's more to do with the weather late in the season and playing that slow roll ball, especially that last game. That Northwestern Illinois game was just an absolute crap show as far as weather goes. So I'm highly interested in Hank Beatty in this spot. Is he a lock in my lineup? No, I don't think so. Uh, but he's a guy that I'm going to be highly interested in and trying to figure out how I want to get him in uh, to this spot, and then say, all right, if I go Altmaier, do I go Altmaier with Beatty and Dixon? Dixon being your deep threat, your more long yardage A dot. If that's hitting, he's going to have a monster game. And then Hudson Clement's a fine number 3. He's had a couple very good games down the stretch with Maryland and Rutgers, but that is Maryland and Rutgers. Consider the opponent. So other than that, he did struggle this season. So it'd be kind of difficult to say, hey, I want to go Hudson Clement with Hank Beatty. Y'all know I'm a Justin Bowick fan, but it's going to take a touchdown for him to pay out. Maybe he gets there, but I'm not gonna risk it. It's not worth risking it on this slate at 3.4K. So Beatty's definitely going to have to be one of the wide receivers, and you're perfectly fine going Altmaier Beatty, but not my. I think you're going to end up needing at least, probably you're going to need 2 guys to hit for Altmaier to get where you want, although they do spread it a little bit. All right, USC. Maeva's got to be my top option on this slate. He's so good. And he's coming back. I know he's missing some guys, but man, I mean, you're going to play 2 quarterbacks on this slate because of the scoring that you're going to see. Lincoln Riley quarterbacks have done pretty good in bowl games, and this secondary has given it up plenty. They're one of the worst in the country at explosive plays allowed, and I believe they're supposed to have the safety back, but we'll see. I think there's going to be some guys missing on this TCU defense. Not that it's any good to begin with. Bud Clark. If Bud Clark's back, it does really help TCU in this one. This is a game in a dome, so this thing's got shootout written all over it. Wayman Jordan is allegedly working. Thank you, Kinger. Thank you. Yep, we're gonna be ripping. We're gonna be ripping. We're just starting out, but we're gonna rip all the way through bowl season. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff in the off season, and then we'll start previewing teams and get right back into the regular season, and it won't be too far away. It'll be too soon for my wife. I know that much. She ends up being like, it's a lot. It's a lot. That's for sure. So running back wise, I think King Miller probably ends up getting the bulk of the work here, and just continues this torrid stretch of games that he's had. I would expect him to be one of the better plays on the slate, along with Deshaun Bishop at running back. That's probably my core 2 that I feel good about. I think you can obviously play Maeva and Miller. Miller caught the ball pretty well the last couple weeks. Yeah, he's catching the ball pretty good. He's running the ball great, but he doesn't steal too much. And if this game shoots, USC is going to throw up some points. I don't know that Wayman Jordan comes back. He's obviously the unquestioned number 1s going into next year, but do you really want to risk him? Probably not. With no Eli Sanders, maybe he mixes in, gets some work, but I'd expect King Miller to be the top option. And we know in a Riley offense, you can play quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. So Tanook Hines, I'm locking in as well. He's just going to end up being too cheap of a value. No Lake McCree, no Makai Lemon, no Jacoby Lane. Tanook Hines becomes your Makai Lemon. We've seen that happen before. And then they're going to start trotting out Jaden Richardson and Zacharias Williams. Now, that's where it gets interesting. Very interesting. Richardson played a lot more than Williams, but I think that that is more so to keep his red shirt. Um, Williams came over from Utah and was expected to be Utah's number one wide receiver this season before he departed. Ryan Davis ended up being the number one, played pretty well for Tim Beck's offense. I think Williams is probably the more interesting of the two as far as upside goes. I'm just going to lean into Tanook Hines. I might end up. We're going to see how it builds out. I probably slightly prefer Williams to Richardson, but we do know I think Richardson ends up getting the start in the two wide sets, and then the third wide receiver being Zacharias Williams. But no guarantees that other guys aren't going to mix in. Hines is just the lock as far as that goes. TCU wise, Hoover's in the portal. He's out. We get Ken Seals. Yeah, man. I don't trust Ken Seals. Like, I realize and I understand why he might be an option, but I'm not considering him whatsoever. I just cannot. I don't think he's good. He's too expensive. I don't want any part of Ken Seals. So I'm out. If you want, I'm fine playing weapons on the TCU side. I just refuse to play Ken Seals. Not exactly a mobile quarterback. At least Maeva has some mobility, but you got a non-runner and a guy that doesn't have Kendall Briles calling his offense either. So that scares me. So I'm honestly nervous about the TCU side overall. Jeremy Payne finished the year extremely strong. You can go here. I think USC, the biggest thing that you're going to like the TCU side for is because Danton Lynn's going to be gone. Eric Gentry at linebacker was a difference maker. He's gone. And they also were not particularly good against the run during the season. And I think you're going to have a ton of opt-outs on that side of the ball. So if they already weren't great against the run, and then you take away these pretty good pieces, does Jeremy Payne just get a ton of work? It's possible. So I think Jeremy Payne's a fine play if you want to make that be the option. I think he's a fine play. I'm open to it. I don't love it, but I'm open to it. Wide receiver wise, I think most of the field probably tries to get to Eric McAllister. Unquestioned number one, target hog. He's had some monster games this season. Is it possible he has a monster here? Yes. I think 7,500 is probably a little more than I would want to pay for him. I'd love him to be in the sixes. So that one's interesting. And then you end up trying to figure out who else could get targets in this spot. So Manjack's going to be the unquestioned number two. I'm fine with Manjack. I don't love the price on Manjack. I'd like him to be in the fours. DJ Rogers starting tight end. He's fine, but I wouldn't go there personally. I think he's too expensive as well. Jordan Dwyer is going to sit this one out. That's going to open a spot. So the question is, who starts on the outside? I think it probably ends up being Manjack, or Manjack just stays out there, but they run mostly three wide sets, 11 personnel. But I think that does open the door that Ed Small is going to be on the field. So Ed Small, talented freshman. I do love the Ed Small play personally in this spot. I think it's a very astute play. We just got to make sure he's going to play, but he's a freshman. He filled in for Manjack in the slot at some points. Who's going to kick outside? Manjack has primarily, he played in the slot. He can play outside. He's a big slot receiver. So kicking him outside makes sense. Whereas Smalls kind of replaced Manjack in the slot when Manjack was out. I think their best lineup is man jack on the outside, small in the slot, given how much experience small has in the slot. So I would prefer it to be that way. Um, and that's kind of how I would look at Ed. I would prefer Ed Small if I was going to play somebody on that TCU side. So let's build some stuff out here. Let's say we want, like, the thing that makes the most sense is to go here, and I do like thieving in, but let me throw in King Miller. Let me try this out first. Let's throw my Ava in. I think we can definitely get there. So if I play the USC triple, perfectly happy with that. I still got a 5K. I mean, a 3K guy I can work with here if I need to. Because it could be that. I think Mike Matthews would be fine as 5,200. Let's go. Let's see. I still kind of want to get. Don't go thieving in. Let's go Burnett. See, I would love it to be if I could get Matthews and Beatty in this spot, but I can't. So we could go McAllister. Matthews Beatty makes so much sense if I could get it at just 200 off of that, which is frustrating. I can get Matthews Beatty, but I'd have to come off of my Ava and go to Altmaier. So that is interesting. All right. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I don't love not double stacking him, Altmaier, but I'm perfectly happy with Miller and Hines being the top two options on that offense and all the concentrated volume there. Kukuk and Burnett, perfectly happy with that being the double. And then getting the Matthews Bishop stuff to go back. I really do think this is a very quality option. That's playing into Burnett getting 15 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's playing into Kukuk getting 15 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's your 4 touchdowns for Louisiana Tech, and you're buying into that. I think that's viable. There is some possibility that Thievenen does sit out. It's not impossible, but not a guarantee either which way. Yeah, I think that would be my baseline of where I would want to be, just because I know that Matthews is going to play. Otherwise, if I was playing it a different way, so let's say I wanted to keep Burnett in there, even though I'm not certain that I do. You can go here, and then that gives you the Tennessee kid. You could take the shot on Rodarius Jackson. I think that's fine as well in this spot. I don't think I would go. I'm not going to go double. I'm not going Ed Small with McAllister. I think that's too thin for me. I would prefer to go Rodarius Jackson in that spot. 53. I mean, you could technically right here. You could even. I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that. I was going to say I would go Mike Matthews there, but I don't think I would do that either. But then at this point, I have 0 Illinois, and I don't particularly like that, which bothers me. I do like the USC side in this thing, but I don't really want to go there on that. And I think Rodarius Jackson's pretty thin play. All right, let's see if we do it this way. So let's play it that way. I don't really love these other backs. I like Thievenen, but I don't want to play Thievenen in there. I mean, maybe. Like, what if you went Thievenen, Maeva? Yeah, then you end up in some even weirder spots. Because now you're going to have to play. Oh, well, you could technically do it this way. Hudson Clement and Mike Matthews. That gets you a little bit of Illinois. That would be fine. I don't hate that. Don't love it. Hmm. Let's see if you go Altmaier. Let's go Beatty. I feel like Beatty's the guy you're gonna have to have. Um, See, and then the sucky part is you can't go anywhere in there. You'd have to kind of be in this range. 52. I don't think I would go double 52s there. No. You could go Clement. That'd give you 6K. They get you on like a Barnes. I don't like that. TCU. So like Payne and then a wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, even then you're going down to Clement in that spot. So that would be otherwise you got 6K and I don't want Barnes, don't want Fagan. Yeah. So this is what you would end up building. Beatty Clement with Altmaier. But now you're missing a Tennessee weapon, which I would prefer probably right here to the Payne side because I think they probably you're playing for a USC blowout at that point. So I'd rather even go Matthews, leave the 800 on the table. I prefer well at that point I'd rather just do that. Yeah. So this is your game stacking Illinois, Tennessee. You get Bishop, you get Matthews, you get Altmaier with the double. Um, Hines and Miller, great combination. And then you get Kukuk. So you're basically saying Kukuk runs for 150, maybe he throws one and gets you 3 total touchdowns, lights it up early. And you get Bishop and Matthews scoring the touchdowns on the outside. And then you get Altmaier bringing them back with Beatty and Dixon. And then USC just flat out dominates that game with a concentrated pass volume or with a concentrated offense, which never seen that before. Let me tell you. Anybody ever seen USC have one wide receiver go off and a running back go off and nothing else go off? Never seen that. Let me tell you. It's not like that hadn't happened for 15 straight weeks. So I think this is extremely viable. Um, that's going to give me some decisions to make. Interesting. I'm gonna think on that. So like Altmaier, I like the prospect of. I don't think I want to go Aguilar because I want Bishop, and Bishop's not going to be helpful to Aguilar necessarily. I don't want Staley. I'd rather have Matthews. I'd rather just pick my Tennessee pieces. I really do like this team. I might end up playing this because I think Altmaier ends up going under owned more than likely. We know he's got 40-point upside. I mean, he threw up a 40 burger on USC with a 28. Like his rushing, he has rushing upside. I mean, look at the running in this towards the end of the season. 48, 88, 62, or 20 with 2 touchdowns. Like he has rushing upside. He just hasn't had to show it. And the weather's pretty decent in this spot. It's a little cold, but pretty decent. So if he throws for 300, I feel like this is a very similar game to what he could have. Is this USC game? 328 and 2 with 28. I mean, even if you take the 1 away, he's in the 30s. Which I don't quite understand how he ended up. Yeah, because you lost 10 points from touchdowns right there. So I mean, like something in the mid-20s wouldn't shock me in this spot. Something 300 yards. I mean, they're going to push them. So I actually do really like this. Yeah, I do really like this. If I was building this, I would tell you to put Hines in your flex because you do not want to have a guy late. So yeah, man, the tough one is this Louisiana Tech stuff. Like, do you really want to not play one of the running backs from Louisiana Tech? That seems suboptimal. In this exact, I swear to God, this is exactly what I built. It's quite literally what I built the first time, which is hilarious. I just did it that way. Yeah. So the question is do you want I get yeah, I mean, since I ended up building it twice the exact same way, I just changed minimally what I was doing. Now that I think about it, do you want Colin Dixon or do you want Burnett? So that means this is how I want to build it. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to pay up for McAllister, personally. Yeah. And I think there is a risk of a soft opt out here, a very big risk of a soft opt out, of him playing a drive and then opting out. I think there's very big risk there. All right. Let's look at FanDuel. So Kukuk is an even better play on FanDuel because you get all that rushing and the half PPR. Yeah. Yeah. I just think how old is McAllister? I've got to think he's pretty old. Yeah, he's a senior. I was gonna say he's got to be old because I've seen him play for 4 years at least. What did he do again for Boise in 2022? Let's see, how many games did he play in 2022? Yeah, he's played more than 4 games, 4 straight years. Because he was a starter for Boise before he left. Like he was the unquestioned number one wide receiver at Boise in 23. 24, he comes to TCU, was the third option. 25, he's the starter. He's going pro. He's a senior for sure. I don't even know when he was born, but it's been a while. So I think he's got soft opt out written all over him. It's potential. I'm not saying he will. I just saying that's why I'm willing to not play it that way because I know the other guys feel pretty good to me. So on FanDuel, very similar. Altmaier would be the guy that I would go down to if I needed the salary to make a difference. I have no issues going Altmaier over Maeva. Altmaier, Kukuk's such a difficult one because, like, I know Maeva's going to chuck it and I know he can run. So his floor is just so good. Same thing, Altmaier, similar. He's going to be able to chuck it and he can run. His floor is really good. The ceiling on Kukuk's so ridiculous, but the floor is so low. That's the tricky part there. I think some people go to Ken Seals because he's 8,500. I do think some people go here. I'm not. I just don't like. I don't think Ken Seals is particularly good. I just think he stinks. I mean, look at all the Vandy quarterbacks that are floating around. AJ Swan, Ken Seals. They're kind of doo-doo cakes. But yeah, so I think Aguilar's fine. Any of the top four are in play on FanDuel. I'm just going to set a preference there. I do want Bishop at 10-2. I don't fault you if you go from Bishop to King Miller and you want to play it a different way. Don't fault you one bit. Same thing if you wanted Thievenin or Burnett. Don't fault you either way. Those are kind of the guys that I would stick to, though, are one Louisiana Tech back and then one of the top two running backs in Bishop or Miller. I think I would pick 1 and 1. No doubt about it. Wide receiver wise, I'm not going to pay up to the top two. If I was playing Altmaier, I did play around with some beady Altmaier. I am going to stick Hines in no matter what at 8K. Matthews, I'm fine with at 75. Dixon, I like. I think he fits FanDuel a lot better than DK just because he's got some upside from the catch deep ball. And otherwise, I wouldn't play Richardson at 6K. I'm going to go down even more to Williams at 55. Hudson Clement, I don't mind at 56. And there is a ridiculous amount of value. We're not playing any wide receivers in that game. So if we look at this Illinois game, Radarius Jackson comes in at 5.2K. Very good play. Very astute. Like that play. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for the wide receivers in that game. The value comes in this TCU game. So DJ Rogers at 5.4, I'm not really. Ed Small comes in at 5K. So that's your punt to the day right there. And then if you could figure out whatever other USC I guarantee you there's a USC player down here that ends up scoring because Lake McCree being out, somebody's got to take his spot. Who that is, no clue necessarily. It would be a complete shot in the dark to say, hey, I'm going to take, but there's going to be some rando for USC that scores a touchdown. It's just, it's a lock. But yeah, so I'm going to end up playing this personally right here. I actually like this lineup. I get my Hines, my Ava exposure, and then I get my Illinois, Tennessee exposure, and I get my Louisiana Tech run game exposure. So I get my big shot plays on Illinois, and then I get Tennessee. I'm just buying the Radarius Jackson stuff. I think you can very well go Ed Small there over Radarius Jackson. I've been thinking about that, but I think I prefer Tennessee to TCU from a pass game standpoint because Joey Aguilar is going pro in something other than sports. So I'm going to prefer to stay away from him. But that's kind of where we're at on the FanDuel side. And I think I'm going to end up playing this on DK. I got to make a decision on this Louisiana Tech running back. That's going to be the thing I'm not sure about. So I'm not going to guarantee anything. I might decide to go back and go Colin Dixon instead of Burnett. I'm going to debate that for the next 3.5 hours, basically. So yeah, that's where we're going to be. I'll be back tomorrow talking the New Year's Eve slate. And then obviously that'll basically be live before lock because there's a game at 11 a.m. with Vandy in Iowa. And then we'll have live before lock on Thursday talking New Year's Day, which that's going to be a fun little slate. That's going to be fun because at least then we've got the big boy games, 3 big boy games on New Year's Day to enjoy while everybody's off. And then we'll have a Friday slate. And I think we start really winding down after that. But we'll still have some big boys in there. We'll hit some showdown for those CFP games because I figured I might as well enter those while I'm at it. Why not? So we'll hit some showdown while we're in there and try to get all of that stuff wrapped up. Hopefully take down a decent finish today like we did yesterday. I actually had a good team yesterday. So hopefully